Spider-Noir is gonna have to wait. There's too much coming out this week alone. Great problem to have, though. What can I say? So I Love Boosters is a new movie starring Keke Palmer, Naomi Taylor-Page, and they are a group of girls that essentially boost clothes stores, and they take clothing from higher-end brands and they like to give it out to poor, lower-income folks who are struggling with the fact that they can't afford like better clothes. Robin Hood type of scenario, but for clothing, and it's a pretty interesting premise. And I really dug the first half of this movie and how it sets up a really snappy, fast-paced environment in a world of hustling that I just enjoyed kind of relishing in with these characters. Keke Palmer brings a lot of energy to this role. She brings so much chemistry in anything she's in. Every time I see her in a movie, it immediately goes up a point because she just brings so much presence in everything she works on, and she brings so much out of other actors around her too. She really bounces off of other people and really works off of chemistry, but tells a lot about her own character as well. It always feels like she has an internal work going on that I really appreciate that she carries with her characters. I Love Boosters is no exception. And I appreciate it because you do see the flaws in these friends, in their friend group, in this situation. When they stress, they really take it out on each other, sometimes like a human being does, and they have to deal and reconcile with that. And I like those realistic moments between the friendships and the relationships this movie forms. Snappy, it's fun. You get to see how the inner workings of their scheming is really concocted, and it's fun to experience that and move along the heist with them. When it's a heist movie, I'm really enjoying it. I also like what this movie had to say about fashion and appropriation of fashion, how typically when fashion is created or adapted or worked on by other cultures, an Americanized system will come in, take it, appropriate it, and then rebrand it as their own work without giving credit where credit is due. And I like that this movie tackles that subject in a way, because I don't think about that in terms of fashion a lot. You know, like, this happens everywhere. We see in media and products in America and everything, but fashion in particular, I stay out my head out of the knowledge of that as much. So I like seeing a movie tackle that. I've had a lot to say about that, which it kind of does, but kind of doesn't at the same time for me. It's where the second half of this movie comes in. I'm not gonna lie, at a point it lost me. There is fun to be had, don't get me wrong. I was always having a fun time, at least with the movie. I do feel like the second half is inferior to the first because I just didn't feel like the more fantastical elements that get introduced in this movie always had a place in the story. On one end, it does provide the movie with a unique visual flair and does provide bits of comedy that are unique compared to the rest of the movie, but I do question if certain bits of comedy always fit what was going on, fit the tone. Did it always work? Honestly, for me, no. And like, when you look at the movie as a more of a wacky, cartoonish comedy that it is, I do think it loses some of the steam of what it's trying to say. I think that wouldn't be the case with the comedy hit all the time, but sometimes just the jokes didn't always work for me. Sometimes the movie would get too bogged down with an on-running gag that personally for me would distract from the main story at hand. You'd be like, why are we doing this? Why are we here? Especially regarding one dude that they there's a character in this movie they have a really funny ongoing joke with, but sometimes that joke, there's moments where I'm sitting there like, why are we still here? Really, though, there were sometimes the movie was very clever with that comedy, because there was one joke in particular that at first I thought was going on for way too long than it needed to. I was like, all right, we get it. The point is made. But then Keke Palmer has a line delivery at the very end of that scene that makes the whole joke itself worth the wait for that. And like, it's very clever and how it kind of pulls you along for the comedy in certain moments. So it does hit at points. Like, there are some really good jokes in this. But I found myself so enveloped in these characters that sometimes when the more fantastical elements showed their head, reared their head, it felt like more of a distraction than an addition to their characters. Element in this movie, I don't want to spoil. I just didn't expect it to be in there, and that's not a bad thing if you don't expect it, but sometimes I felt like the story struggled to weave it into the narrative as cohesively as the rest of its elements. I don't remember if this fantastical element is in the trailer, so I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's hard to talk about how it diminished my experience a bit. Admittedly, a really nice use of practical and CG blending in a certain moment, but the moment itself is so out there compared to the rest of the movie that I kind of just wanted to mentally check out almost. I didn't. I stayed in tune, and I was having kind of fun, but it just wasn't as strong as the rest of the movie. I appreciated the riffing on big corporations in this movie when it got to that point, but I did find that the commentary was more powerful when we were in a more tangible world that wasn't as fantastical as this movie eventually becomes. Expect to have that thought about I Love Boosters. There's nothing in the marketing that made me anticipate it for that. I think that's actually all the more reason a lot of people will find this refreshing too. Like, my audience was having so much fun with this movie. Like, there are laugh out loud moments. It's one of the funniest movies this year for sure. But I feel like I Love Boosters does run into that category where it overstuffs itself with too many characters to a point where I'm just like, we could have focused up a little bit, trimmed down some characters, made the heart and focus of Keke Palmer and Naomi Omiyaki, I apologize. I was really interested in their friendship, and that heart of the movie I felt got a little overshadowed by the end by all the other elements that overcrowded. You go in expecting I Love Boosters to be a wacky, cartoonish comedy that is also a parody of the fashion world in and of itself. I think you'll have a great time with this movie. All the jokes land for you. You will have a great time in this movie because it is, almost by definition, a comedy. Jokes don't always land, though. Your experience might be a little compromised. The movie is unique, though, and it is unique in its execution, and I gotta give it credit for that, even if I didn't always love it. I was gonna show it for Keke Palmer. Guys, what did you think of I Love Boosters? Did you enjoy it? I hope you get a lot from it. Thank you for watching Scatterbrained Reviews. Come leave a like, leave a comment, come talk about movies with us, come talk about stories with us. I will see you next time.